Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast. Have you ever heard the phrase, nurses eat their young? Feeding Our Young is more than a podcast, it's a movement. It's a desire to see new nurses of all ages be supported and uplifted by their peers, and it starts with me. It starts with you. So join host Eric Miller, registered nurse of nearly 20 years and adjunct clinical instructor, and today's honored guest, me, Jenn Boyer, and be ready to have your life uplifted so you can, in turn, lift others up as well. Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Feeding Our Young podcast. Today I have a wonderful friend with me, and I know that nobody's used to us leading off with a spelling lesson, but that's exactly what I'm going to do today. This is my friend, spelled F-R-I-E-N-N-D, my friend with two N's, Jenn with two N's. Jenn, how the heck are you doing today?
I'm good. It's great to be here.
I am so glad to be able to just kind of chill and sit in studio with you. It's been at least a couple days since I saw you last.
I know. You were there to witness the craziness that was Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday. We will not forget Wednesday anytime soon. There was not only was there multiple births, but I mean, there was some sadness in there too. So it was not a fun day, but here we are on Saturday, which is going to be vastly more fun as far as that goes. So, Jenn, I won't waste any more time here as far as that goes. I would love for you to introduce yourself. Who are you? Where is home to you?
Well, I'm Jennifer Boyer, but that's way too formal. And Jenny is a common nickname, but that one doesn't apply to me unless you went to high school with me, because apparently I went by Jenny in high school, even though I don't remember that.
Oh.
So, Jenn it is. This is home, as in Spokane, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I was not born here, but I've been here for 28 years, so this feels like home.
28 years. So, like, since you were like 2 years old or 7, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I just in the interest of transparency, and I asked for permission to do this first. We text back and forth going into this episode, and I'm like, all right, Jenn, you ready to go? She's like, yeah, I'm just a little nervous about, my boring self and da-da-da-da. I'm like, you are one of the least boring people I've ever met. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to this episode with Jenn. Hi, Jenn. How are you?
Hey.
Hey. Do you like nursing?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Okay, great.
All right. We got the boring out of the way. Now we're ready to rock. Okay, so with that, I guess I've kind of given it away. Yes, we do work with each other. Jenn, would you mind sharing what degrees you hold and or maybe when and where you graduated with them?
Sure. I have my bachelor's of science in nursing. I started nursing school way back at the turn of the century. It was spring of 2000. I got my associate's degree from SCC. And then I started actually working as a nurse in January of 2004. And then I went back to school probably 5 or 6 years later to finish my BSN through an online program.
Very
now
cool.
I have that.
Very cool. So when you first started, you were like going to SEC and like buggy and carriage, horse and carriage, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
I love it. What was the, oh gosh, did you ever play that game, Oregon Trail?
Of course. We played it multiple times a year during computer class.
That was like a brand new like thing in schools. I might be aging myself, but I do remember that as well. So at least you avoided getting dysentery on your way to SEC, right?
It did, yeah.
Good,
I
good.
was able to fjord the river to get there.
All right. So anyone who's like, "What in the heck are you two talking about?" Don't worry. This is just a couple of old fogies. No, an old fogey and a wonderful person getting together and chatting about a little game called the Oregon Trail. You can look into that. Anyway, regardless, let's not digress any further. What are three words that you chose to describe nursing school, Jen?
Okay, the first word that I chose to describe nursing school is soul crushing, and I included a hyphen in there so that it's just one word.
Counts. 3.5 words. What are the 3.5
Okay,
words you chose?
okay, and then word number two is necessary, and word number three was temporary.
Oh, I like this. I can't wait to discuss those at the end of your episode. And in the meantime, what are three of your favorite songs in life right now?
Okay, well, as discussed, I'm old enough to have gone to nursing school at the turn of the century. So I'm old and I have old person hobbies,
So wait,
which
before
means,
before you continue then, old person hobbies, does that mean we need to take a second so you can go to your LP collection and find some songs?
yeah, yeah, my kids are bringing that back. They all want record players and stuff now. Um, so anyway, I don't listen to a lot of music anymore. I don't know what happened. It wasn't a conscious choice, but podcasts have entered my world, and now I just all the times when I would be listening to music, I'm listening to podcasts and audiobooks. So,
Awesome. Improving yourself and entertaining
yes,
yourself through an
yep,
audio medium. This is the reason why this little podcast exists. So that being said,
yeah.
what are maybe three of your favorite podcasts then?
Okay. My three favorite podcasts. Uh, for sure, number one is Armchair Expert with Zach Shepard and Monica Padman.
Nice.
And this is my first foray into being a guest on a podcast, but I'm excited to use it for practice for one day when I will be a guest on that podcast.
We had this chat about like I was like I hate to disappoint you, Jen, but I don't think Dax is listening. Hopefully, maybe one member of his staff will
Someday,
figure it
someday,
out and be like,
someday.
wait, I gotta have her on my podcast.
Well, he does a special call-in like episode where obviously people call in and they tell stories about like whatever his theme or topic is for the day.
Yeah.
And he's done nurse stories twice, and he's going to keep doing it because it's such a big hit with everybody because we have the best stories.
Yeah, we do. Awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's gonna happen. It's not a matter of if, it's
Someday,
a matter of when.
someday.
I love it. I love it. Any other podcasts you want to drop?
Huberman Lab podcast. That one's awesome
Oh,
too for
nice. That
sciencey people like us.
nice. I've not heard of that one, so I'll have to check that out. All right. So the other thing, and I'm setting you up very poorly for this one. I usually
That's okay.
warn my guests before we jump in about this one, but it's the newest thing I'm doing, and by now we're about 6 or 7 honored guests in. But I have this unofficial, unpatented feeding our young personality test.
Okay.
Would you be willing to take it here and now? Nothing crazy. It is just 5 would you rather questions for the most part that you answer rapid fire. You give rationale or don't. And then we find out we know exactly what type of person you are.
Okay. I'm game. Let's do it.
Would you rather have the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Fly.
Team pie or team cake?
Team pie.
Instantly learn a new language or instrument?
Language.
You now have a time machine. Congratulations. Are you going to go back in time or are you going to see the future?
Back in time.
And is Wham's Last Christmas actually a Christmas song?
For sure.
Oh, all right. There it is. Yes. And the results are in. You are amazing. Congratulations. Yay. I don't,
Yay.
it's a stupid thing, but I was like,
It's fun.
that's it. We're gonna play with this and see what people. I'm looking for it because I'm a nerd, and so I will straight up just tally these, and we'll keep a running tally of what people land, what category they land in.
I too am a nerd. I lived for many years under the illusion that I wasn't, but now I've accepted it.
Acceptance is half the battle, really.
Yeah.
I, however, recognized it very early on, and if I was that obtuse, there were certain peers at school that definitely made sure I knew. So then it was a matter of embracing it and turning it into a superpower as opposed to a weakness. Speaking of, Jen, what's your superpower?
I kind of think of myself as the person without a superpower,
Hmm?
but that's okay. Because that in itself is a superpower. Because
That in
then
and of itself.
average people can do awesome things too.
Amen. And we are living proof of that. Oh, that's awesome. I love that answer. Oh, I'm going to have to. Okay, that's awesome. All right. With that, then, you briefly mentioned a little bit about your family. Share whatever you would like about your family, whatever they'd be okay with you sharing about, anyway.
Um, okay. Here begins the boring, not that my family's boring, but it's very
Oh,
typical.
I'm sorry. Then let me rephrase. Sorry. So Jen, will you tell us about your family?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, I have been married for, um, it will be 27 years this August. So his name's John. We met in Hawaii, of all exciting places. Um, and then we have three kids. We have Noah, who's 25 at the end of this month, and Marlo, who is 20, and Peyton, girl Peyton, is will be 16 at the end of this month and getting ready to start driver's ed.
Oh, that's an exciting time in your household, is it not?
Yeah. And we have two dogs whom I love very much, but I've also discovered that I'm not as much of a dog person as I was when my parents were doing all the work of raising dogs. So, when we don't have dogs anymore, I'm probably going to enjoy a little peace and quiet.
A little freedom from furry children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or more furry children. I don't know. I don't want to we're not going to talk about how furry your actual children are. So a couple questions popped to mind there. So first of all, is it
Okay.
John with two N's? And if not, why not? Like, come on.
No, but it is Jonathan, Jon,
Oh,
not John. So we
nice.
got to be special somehow.
And how did you guys meet in Hawaii of all places?
Um, we were both a part of YWAM, which is Youth with a Mission. We were both a part of that organization, and we got to do a little. I don't remember what they called it. They called it, well, they called it school, but it
Yeah.
was really more like a 3 month long church camp. So school is a pretty loosely used term, but that we met there.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Well, then let's fast forward a little bit and talk about Jen, the nursing student. So let's dial that machine back a little, just a couple years. And why nursing? Let's start there. Why nursing, and then why SCC of all places? Why'd you start there?
Hmm. Well, I don't, I mean, the short answer is I don't know. Okay. Well, my mom was a nurse, so I think that probably influenced me in some way.
Hmm.
Um, and during that time in people's lives where they try on a bunch of different identities and sort of figure out who they are, um, I just was always stuck on nursing. Like I would
Hmm.
try to think of other things to go after, and nothing just felt right. And this one felt natural and like the way to go. So I followed it.
Hmm. Very, very cool. And I can tell you right now that there are many of us that are grateful that you did, including, I imagine, the numerous patients you've taken care of over the years, for sure. That's amazing. So then you decide nursing's it for you. Did you have careers before, or was it at that point you're like, I'm gonna go to the community college and we're gonna get that ADN and let's run with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as a, I got married really young. So I was 21 when I got married. When I was graduating from high school, I think I probably had no idea what kind of person I wanted to be. Like,
Yeah.
part of me wanted to go to college and join a sorority and have the whole college experience. And then the other part of me didn't care about that at all and just wanted to screw around and party. And part of me wanted to like get married and have babies young, and the other part of me was like, oh, you have forever to do that, so what's your hurry? But but get married and have babies young sort of won out. And when you're in that sort of circumstance, SEC makes the most sense because they're most accommodating to non-traditional students. So
Yeah. Yeah, very sure. And thankful for that too. I mean, that's similar. I lived a bit of life before going to SCC
yeah.
and landing in the nursing world. So and that's what I love about having so many ways to get into the
Hmm.
nursing field. There's some that jump in straight into those 4 years, some into the two. We've talked about that before on this podcast, but I love the fact that, wherever you are in life, in theory, there's an option for you.
Yes.
There's a way to make it happen. And so, anything you want to talk about as far as I'm leading the witness because you led me in this direction, but
Yeah, yeah.
and that bridge there between high school and getting into college. How good of a student were you? Oh my gosh, Eric, that's such a rude question to ask your guest.
What a leading question. Uh, well, as we sort of communicated earlier, I do think I'm a reasonably smart person, but that's accumulated knowledge over many years.
Yeah.
I'm not a very disciplined person, and no surprise to anybody listening who's looking into nursing school, it requires some discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I think I had fulfilled all of the requirements for applying to nursing school. I could tell on paper it wasn't the strongest application, but I was like, just give it a shot. And if I get in, I get in. And if I don't, then I can perhaps retake some classes or do other things to boost the resume a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and reflecting back on this, I now have a theory.
Ooh.
I just came up with it just today, but I think there's some weight to it.
Okay.
Um, it was springtime of 2000. And my theory is that we had just made it through Y2K. Probably, probably there were a lot of people who were like, what's the point of studying for nursing school? Because the world is going to end.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so the numbers of people applying for nursing school was probably way down in comparison. And so I just got in.
Thank you, Y2K.
Thank you, Y2K. Um,
Oh.
so um, one, I met the requirements for nursing school. I mean, obviously you can't be totally an idiot and get into nursing school. Um, so I'm sure I was smart enough, but
Yeah.
in comparison to the typical competition, if I were applying in today's world, I probably would not be getting it. But that's okay. Life works
Oh.
out the way that it works out.
Yeah, yes, it does.
Yeah,
And again, fortuitously, so glad it did. It's just funny you bring that up. Everybody's like, Y2K. Anyone out there who's like, I have no idea what that's about, just look it up. It
yeah,
genuinely was a thing. All the computers were supposed to like crash or, all the things because they were allegedly at the time, they thought that they were not programmed. The year digit was, I think, just 2 digits. And so it was programmed to, so then you get to 99 and they were like, oh, when it hits the zeros, the computers are going to like crash because they think it's going to go back to 1900 and they won't be able to
yeah,
handle that. And so, yeah, it was this thing. And everybody was like, there was a lot of, there was a lot of, I feel like there were a lot of people like buying like prep kits and stuff in case, you know what I mean? The worst
yeah.
happened. And they're talking like full global, like, utilities shutting down and all this stuff. And I distinctly remember going, you're kind of nervous, but you're also not kind of nervous. So my wife and I had met, by that point, and we were dating, and I'll leave the total rationale out of it. But long story short, she always wanted an August wedding. She wanted a beautiful August wedding, and so, but when we got engaged in '99, prior to Y2K, she was like, no, we have to. We have to get married before the end of the year so that we could partake in certain things before Jesus comes back. And so that was the rationale behind us getting married. So I remember Y2K quite distinctly, all too well.
Classic
Um,
90s Christian.
exactly, exactly, and a little bit of a different person now, of course. So we'll leave that for another time. But no, I appreciate you, being open to that as far as that goes. Do you have any advice for nursing students that are like, oh, I kind of totally relate with you, like, or people who are prospective nursing students who are like, I don't feel like I'm the best student at all. Like, what, it's not Y2K for me. Like, what can I do?
I think that you should just, I know it's kind of a corny phrase, but um, ride the wave, so to speak. Like, uh, things sometimes just align for you, and who knows how or why. But if things are falling into place, I always, unless I really don't want to, I always just try to to follow that as far as it'll take me. So,
Awesome.
um, so just do that. The other complicating factor when I started nursing school was that I had a newborn. So I I had applied and I didn't think I was going to get in. So I was just barging ahead with my other life that I wanted, which having babies young. So I was pregnant. I was pregnant when I applied, but I didn't think it would matter because I thought, one, I probably won't get in. But then I
Mm-hmm.
did.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually supposed to register for classes on the day that I went into labor. Um, so I missed my registration appointment. Um, you know what though? They were nice. They let they let me in anyways, even though
they
I missed my registration appointment.
they counted that
Uh,
as an excused,
yeah,
not an
excused
absence, but
absence.
yeah.
So I was basically set to start nursing school when Noah was 2 months old, I think.
Mm,
And objectively, that was a bad time to start nursing school. But I
mm-hmm.
thought, you know what? This is the way it's working out. So just write it and follow it and see what happens. And yeah, it's going to be hard, but it's all going to be hard anyway. So the sooner we can get the hard stuff done, the better. And that was that was my plan.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it like worked out and didn't work out at the same time because I made it into nursing school, uh, and then failed out of my second quarter of nursing school. And then I had to wait to be let back in, and did a
Oh,
lot of questioning of myself and my choices during that period of time, waiting to get let back in,
yeah,
because it was possible that I wouldn't get back in, or at least it seemed possible at the time.
yeah.
But that's not what happened. I got back in and I finished school, and here I am living to tell about
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, if you don't mind my asking, how
it.
long of a period of time from the time you failed out a second quarter till the time you got back in?
It was almost a year, a little
Oh,
under a year.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And was that like just because of failed repeated attempts to get in, or just
No,
life getting in the way and you doing some reflecting?
I didn't, well, neither, I guess. Um, uh, you didn't have to like, there were no repeated attempts.
Mhm.
But the school letting you back in was on a space available basis. So it just took that long before there was an open spot for me to get back in.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
then, would you say, and if this is too horrible of a question, tell me to bugger off. But yeah, would you say that that failing was more sequela of being a new mom, or going back to your academic, like, well, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the room, but I'm smart enough, but you know what I mean, like that sort
Yeah,
of thing,
yeah.
or a combination
Well,
thereof.
certainly at the time, I was convinced it was because I did not have what it takes and I was not smart enough for this goal that I had put in front of me,
Yeah,
put in front of myself. But in retrospect, that's not the case at all. The
yeah.
case was that I had just bitten off a lot with the brand new baby in nursing school, and
Hmm.
um, and that's just life sometimes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so how did you personally come to a place where you realize that? Like, how do you get over that wall of I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, this must not be it for me?
I don't, I mean, I'm sure it's a different answer for everybody.
Hmm.
But I don't even know if I ever got over that. I mean, it slowly chips away over the years, and now I can be like, "Hey, I'm great. I have a lot of self-confidence." But that is not something that I just had like an aha moment and it disappeared. It was just something that slowly went away over time. But my desire to build a better life for myself and for my family and children and all that kind of stuff outweighed insecurities.
Mm.
And I just knew I didn't want to be broke and poor and destitute for the rest of my life. So I had to figure something out, um, and that was the opportunity in front of me. So that's what I was going to continue to go after.
Mm. And listen to that, nursing student. Like that's the whole thing. Like the two of us, we're slightly around 40-ish, give or take. But you hear that, like you literally just what I love what you just said, Jen. That it wasn't this moment. You're like, okay, no, it wasn't that. The negative voices don't just stop. However you're hearing them, they don't just cease to exist. And also conversely, you may not be able to just be like, you know what, shut up, inner voices. I got this. It may take some time, and you may be living with those quote unquote voices for quite some time. And so just recognize that. But also, I don't know, like to me, I feel like, you were married then. You had
Hmm.
your baby, your first baby. And so I imagine your spouse probably John played a bit of a role in that, I would imagine, as far as encouraging you and uplifting you. Yeah.
Oh, he's definitely a very encouraging and uplifting person.
Yeah.
Um, there are like, um, different. I'm definitely more motivated, like goal oriented and motivated by, I don't want to say money, but just like, the idea of a better life.
Yeah.
Um, I know there was a specific point about like, because at SCC, their program, I don't know if it's still like this, but when I went there, the first year of the program, you after that first year, you could take the boards and be an LPN,
Yeah.
and then you could continue with your second year if you wanted to be an RN. And I did take those LPN boards, which I didn't end up doing anything with. I was a licensed LPN for 9 months or whatever, but I didn't ever really work as one.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember at that time I had had an opportunity to work in an occupational therapy office as an LPN, and my husband thinking like, maybe you should take that. Like that's a thing that's in front of you right now and
Yeah.
makes money. But
Yeah.
staying in school might be better long term, but it's hard to pass up the immediate gratification.
Yeah.
But my mom being an LPN, and she's great at her job. And I credit her a lot with, opening the world of healthcare to me.
Yeah.
But it's not a very well paying position. And I had the foresight at that time to be like, hey, this might be immediately better, but it's not long term better.
Yeah.
And so I said, nah, I'm gonna stay in school. So
Awesome. And to be fair, like you're also that close, right? Like it doesn't feel
yeah,
like you're close, but you're going, I'm barely, I'm slightly
yeah,
over halfway. Let's just finish the thing. Let's, you know what I mean? And maybe open up
yeah.
some other opportunities. So that's awesome. So, you talk about kind of riding this wave and seeing how far it'll take you and that sort of thing. It brings to mind for me another thing you wanted to talk about. And so what would you say to those that are like, but Jen, like okay, sure, you might have just your mom opened this world of healthcare to you, and you just kind of like you thought about other things and you just did. But what about me? I've wanted to be a nurse for as long as I could remember, and I feel like it's my calling. If it's
Mhm.
like I'm called to be a nurse, therefore I have to be a nurse. What would you say about that little topic there?
Yeah, I got some things to say about that topic. And again, I keep touching on this fact of me being older. I know I'm not old, but um, it's just been in the last few years where I've recognized that I have a different way of thinking about things than like my teenage and early 20 something kids think about things.
Yeah,
And so I don't know how much of this is relatable, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it anyways.
do it.
Um, I think that I think that this idea of a calling is actually kind of silly. Um,
Ah.
I had very non-religious, pretty open-minded parents. And then somehow, out of that, in my late teens, I got very involved with the kind of Christian community at my school, and then kind of into that church environment. And, then I went to YWAM. That's where I met my husband. So that faith aspect was very shaping of my life. Now my beliefs have changed a lot since that time, but I can't deny that it was a very foundational aspect of like my adult life.
Yeah.
And somehow Christian culture seems to be really obsessed with calling, with people having
Mm-hmm.
a calling and fulfilling their calling. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and like I said, I think it's kind of silly. Like you can literally do anything and it's your calling. I think people get so caught up in this idea that if they don't follow along this particular track, that they're going to miss out or not fulfill something that they're supposed to be fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not going to happen. If you're, it could, like if you're deliberately making poor choices, then yes, you're probably not going to be fulfilling your calling. Um, but in all other circumstances, as long as you um, are doing your best and working with good intentions and responding to the needs around you, um, that's all you really need. Then
Mm-hmm.
whatever you do that fits into that counts as your calling, and you don't need to worry about the fact that maybe you're not doing it right or you're not where you're supposed to be.
Mm.
That's just not a thing.
I love this answer, and I'm so glad you wanted to talk about it. From a Christian perspective, there's very much a, you know what I mean? Like you go so far as like if you are in some very charismatic churches, which I've been a part of, you're not only you're talking about a calling, you're talking about giftings. And so, you're gifted to do this, and God has blessed you with this particular talent or skill, and therefore you should use it. And you are called to this role in the church, to this role outside the church, to whatever the case may be, all the way to this is what God is ordaining for you, and so you need to do it. And I'm not trying to suck the wind out of the sails of anybody who's like, we have incredible, Gonzaga is a Jesuit university. We've got Catholic universities. We've got all sorts of different universities of different beliefs and different all the things. So I'm not trying to suck the wind out of the sails of those that are like, but no, 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 no. Like, I genuinely feel called to this. Fantastic. Fantastic. But listen to what Jen's saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Because as I've talked about before in this podcast, I took a little detour. I was going to become a doctor when I grew up, but always interested in healthcare. That I knew, and was going to be a doctor. Took this detour into children's pastorhood, and it was like a 4-year detour. But in 2 years, with a loose quote, maybe a little tighter school than what you're talking about. It actually was. No, I don't think the courses were accredited. They didn't transfer it anywhere, but you do end up with a 2-year degree, a ministerial license, and that sort of thing. And then, I spent a couple of years trying my hand at the old children's pastor thing. But I did that, Jen, because I was called to it. And I was called to full-time ministry. That's another thing in Christian circles that you'll hear. You're called to full-time ministry. And so that's great. That's fine. Now fast forward to that moment where I am no longer going to be a children's pastor, where I realize that full-time ministry is not for me. And so if you have that first belief, I'm called to fill in the blank, and then that fill in the blank doesn't work out, can you see the potential for the devastation that can, exist to somebody's, self-worth and all the things? It's the lowest I've ever felt in my life. And my wife and I, we've talked about that so many times. When we moved here to Spokane, like I remember sitting on the bed and just crying. I was like, we had negative $250 to our name. We were overdrawn $250, no money. We had our first child, he's a few months old at that time. And I'm feeling as just a complete failure as a pastor, as a minister, as a, whatever. It just didn't work out as a, father, as a spouse, all the things. And my wife gives me a bad time because I'd say, I'm no better than my mom. And that's not to throw my mom under the bus, but she had her own financial issues. So this whole idea of calling, if that's truly genuinely what you believe, fantastic. Don't lose that. because that in and of itself will help drive you to success. But please take what you hear from Jen and myself and tuck that in the back of your mind as like, it's okay. Like, as best as I can tell, and this is not like some justification that I just came up with, you know what I mean, way back in the day because of that low point in my life. If you look even from a Christian standpoint, biblically, I think our calling is to help people, is to serve people, not to be an island unto ourselves, not to put us ahead of others as far as like, okay, it's all about me and how far I can get in life and what I can do. It's about how do you serve one another? How do you, in the case of nursing, the calling is taking the best care of your patients you can take care of, not the actual job itself. Am I going on a rabbit trail here, Jen, or does that kind of feel aligned with kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that especially I don't know what it is about um, labor and delivery, postpartum, the NICU. That seems to be an area, maybe it's not, maybe that's just what I've been exposed to, but that seems to be an area particularly where people, mostly women, feel called to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. If you have a very strong sense of calling,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll believe that that's what it is for you, and you should follow it. But I'm talking to the people who are like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It
Yeah.
is 100% okay just to let life unfold and see where it takes you. And as long as you're using those experiences to to the best of your abilities positively impact the people around you, then that's all you need to know. And I think I texted you about this, but uh, I always wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse, and I'm not a super sentimental person, so that didn't have to do with like I want to hold babies
Yeah.
it was never that. That's just what felt right to me, and what I really believed was like the one area of nursing that was for me.
Awesome.
Um, I did not get a practicum in labor and delivery. I did not work as a nurse tech in labor and delivery. Um, I was, upon graduating, offered a position in postpartum. It was a supplemental position, and in my naivete, I thought, I didn't take it because I had found out that I was pregnant with my second baby, and I thought, well, I need to have a job with benefits. I can't take supplemental. And
Oh,
my
yeah.
naivete told me, it'll be fine. You'll get plenty of opportunities like this, so don't worry.
This is just the first of many, right? Yeah,
Just, guess what? I did not get
yeah,
more
yeah.
opportunities to get into postpartum or the world of having
OB,
babies.
yeah.
So then I worked a good, I can't even count them, 7 or 8 years, not in women's health, wondering what the heck am I doing? Like I did home care, which had some benefits to it, but was
Yeah.
certainly not anything I was passionate or excited about. I worked at St. Luke's in their rehab, the neuro rehab. Um, Interesting, but not an area I felt particularly excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And all I remember thinking is, I don't know how this is my calling. Just kidding. I didn't think that, but I do remember thinking, I worked so hard, like to become a nurse, and I don't know if this women's health is going to work out for me or not. And if it's not, I don't know how long I could keep doing this because this is
Yeah.
not long term. This is not doing it for me. And then by some miracle, I did end up getting a job in labor and delivery after about 7 years of working as a nurse. So
Wow.
stick with it, guys. Just because it doesn't happen right away doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
there are benefits to that. I met friends in my other jobs who are my lifelong friends, and I'm still a part of my life today. Um, I am way more grateful for the job that I have because I've seen what's on the other side, and I know that it isn't for me. And I do think that there's a lot of people who go into a specialty right outside of school, which I think is great. If you're given the opportunity, by all means, do it. But
Mhm.
um, they, I just know that. having done other things, it made it all the more precious when I was actually able to do the job that I wanted to do. And I don't get burned out the way I see a lot of other people getting burned out in this role.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. That's an interesting thought. Like, some prior having a mixed experience in certain specialties of nursing, we'll say that, I guess, having that, and almost that being a safeguard against burnout.
Hmm.
Interesting. I Because again, we've talked about from the flip perspective, when
Yeah.
you're starting to feel burnout, try something new, and
Yeah.
then that can revitalize you. But
Hmm.
if you're like you said, if you're like Jen, if your nursing path, when you come out of, there's something to be said for expectations versus reality,
Hmm.
and that's just on a daily. That's on the daily. Like, okay, I expect this patient to do well, or I expect this patient to not do good, and then in both those cases, maybe the opposite happens. But
Hmm.
the expectation that I'm going to be an L&D, I'm going to be an OB, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then here's this tiny little offer, and you're like, well, I'll get the next one that comes along 8 years later. So it's one of those things where I just love it. It comes right back to full circle. Ride the wave, right? Ride the wave.
Yeah.
You kept riding the wave. You're like, well, this isn't exactly what I was looking for, and yet on the backside, so instead of me, who was like, oh man, I didn't necessarily feel called to peds oncology, but it's what I wanted to do. I was off the charts passionate about it, when I coming out of nursing school, and I got that dream job right out of there. And I'm like, this is it. I'm going to be a night shift pediatric oncology nurse for the entirety of my career. Done. I'm so excited. 13 years later, wait a second. There are complications now with my own heart and what it's had to deal with, and the bruising and the battering and all the things, blah, blah, blah. Not that I'm a victim, but that really happens in nursing. And so I had to make a change. And fortunately, I recognized that and revitalized my career, and I'm in a better place than I ever have been. And that was 5 years ago. But I'm looking at you being the mirror version of that, right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
want this. And yet, I'm okay. Well, I mean, we'll start with home health. That sounds okay. Yeah, I'll get some things out of this. And then, okay,
Yeah.
well, all right, then St. Luke's, and so on and so forth. And so nursing student, when you graduate and you get out into the world, and you're like, maybe you get your specialty that you're hoping for right out of the bat. Maybe on the flip side, you're like, oh, what I want to do is not available, so now I have to settle for these other things. Look at this. You're talking to two nurses who combined, you've been a nurse since 2004, you said, Jen.
Hmm.
So 20 years, going on 20
Yep.
years, yeah. So 38 years, almost 40 years
21,
combined. Do
21
you want
years.
your nursing
Ja-
career, your nursing
January is kind of like my nursing birth month. It was it was when I started working as a nurse was January of 2004, and it was January of 2013 when I started working in labor and delivery. So,
ah!
and it's also my actual birthday month. So there you go.
Okay, well, minus the third thing. I'm right in there with you. So January, first of all, observation, your nursing career is now old enough to drink, so that's great.
I know that's
Um, and,
wild.
and second, mine isn't. I'm an adult now, but I'm not there yet. And then on the flip side of that, January is a beautiful month because same story. I started Peds Onc January 22nd and started postpartum. I was just 2 weeks shy of 13 years in peds oncology, and so January is my double anniversary date when it comes to that. But enough of that, blah 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 blah. Who cares about Eric's anniversary date? That being said, Jennifer's there. I read your name right off the thing. I call you Jen, and I'm like going, so Jennifer, is there anything
Jennifer.
else you want? Jennifer, we're getting official now. We're done being silly. No, so Jen, is there anything else you want to add, or anything you want to talk about before we circle back around on our normal ending questions?
I can just put the plug out there. I probably don't need to put a plug out there because there's plenty of people who want to work in women's health, but I'll just put the plug out there anyways for labor and delivery. Uh, it's the best specialty ever. uh,
Period.
period. Even if you're like, but I don't want to work with women all day, or or if you were like, oh, I don't know, babies. I'm just telling you, it's a great unit because we have better ratios than almost any other unit in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you get to do a ton of hands-on skills. Uh, you get to do like multiple roles. Like you learn how to be a labor nurse, and then you also learn, certainly not the whole scope of OR nursing, but you get to learn our little sliver of OR nursing.
Yeah.
You get our little sliver of emergency and triage nursing, and there's just a lot of roles combined into one role, and pretty exciting. But it's a nice combination of like technical skills and sort of high acuity, but balanced out with some lower acuity, more
Hmm.
family friendly moments, and just being a part of something that's really meaningful in somebody's life.
Yeah. I phrase it with my students. I'm like, you are literally part of somebody's miracle. And
Hmm.
they won't necessarily remember your name. Maybe they will, but they will definitely remember you.
Yeah.
And they'll remember you being a part of that. And so you saying that brought me back to, when you're in nursing school, for the most part, the big delineating line is like, oh, I don't want to touch kids. Like I'm gonna work with adults. And other people are like, oh, I'm gonna do kids because I don't want to go anywhere near adults.
Yeah.
And that there seems to be like that line of demarcation. Whereas in labor and delivery, postpartum, etc., you get the best of both worlds. You get the best of both
Yeah.
worlds. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, Jen, you picked 3 words to describe nursing school.
Yeah.
What were they and why'd you choose them?
Word number one was soul crushing. And I don't think that, I can't remember if I already said this, but it counts as one word because it has a hyphen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 100%. And it's so optimistic. I love it. I
so
wish we ended
optimistic.
on this one.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of explanation is needed for that one. It's an experience that's designed to break you down and then build you back up. Um, but if you're willing to ride that wave, good things come out of it. My second word was necessary. I mean, it's one of I don't it's more than a hoop because you have 4 years of education that happens, and so it's more than a hoop that you have to jump through, but
Hmm.
it's also that it's it's a hoop you have to jump through. Pretty much everybody who's gone through nursing school is going to tell you that you don't come out of it knowing how to be a nurse. You just come out of it with just the bare minimum to really be able to start learning how to be a nurse as a nurse. Um, and that's true. But it is, even though there's tons and tons of learning that will be done after the fact, this is like step one. It's the foundation, and you got to get through it. So just buckle up and just keep
Get
moving
right,
forward.
ride the wave. No,
Yeah.
I also like it's funny. You're like it's a hoop you have to jump through. You're like, well, it's like 4 years, so it's really not. I envisioned like a bunch of hoops. So I was like, well, it's kind of a tunnel, so you got to jump through
Yeah.
the tunnel.
Tunnel.
Yeah.
And if you have to crawl through the tunnel, like
Yep.
because you can't even stand up, that's great too. It all counts. You get if you
Yep.
get to the end, it counts.
Moving forward. Moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then final word, temporary. I picked this word. Um, I couldn't find a better word. I'm going to be honest. I
Ooh.
had a concept in my mind, and I couldn't find the right word for the concept. But the nursing student that you are is not necessarily, it could be, but it's not necessarily a reflection of the kind of nurse that you're going to be. Um,
Ooh.
I was I was pretty scattered when I was a nursing student because I was young, had a new baby, was had imposter syndrome big time, and was feeling just really insecure. And um, I wasn't a model student. Let's just say that. Um, uh, I made it through, as we talked about already, but by the skin of my teeth, I think. And I had a lot of fear going forward that I've bitten off more than I can chew, and
Yeah.
I'm only here because I got lucky. And again, I know this is probably sounds silly, but um, the internet existed, but social media didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these things that are so obvious to people right now because they get spread around really fast through social media were not concepts that were like widely known. And I can actually remember the first time that I heard the concept of imposter syndrome. And it was like amazing because I'd never heard anybody put words to that feeling that I had.
Yeah.
And it was like I had just cracked some sort of code, and it like validated me and helped me to see that, like, oh, lots of people feel this way. And if lots of people are feeling this way and they're still pretty awesome at their job, then maybe that can be true for me too. Um, and you just, yeah. So I feel like I've landed in a place as a nurse um, where I don't feel that sense of imposter syndrome anymore. That doesn't mean that I don't have a ton of stuff to learn, doesn't mean I've got it all figured out, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
confident in the part that I do know. And it's a really good feeling to be on the other side of this. And the other side of this is not going to be the day that you graduate from nursing school, but you're
Yeah.
going to just slowly build your career, and you're going to slowly build your life. And one day you're going to be like, wow, I don't know when it flipped, but I can see now that I'm just more confident and um, in a better place.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just
So be
love that.
so just know that it will get better, but also know that the getting better, it takes a long time.
Yeah. Very much so. I love how you phrase that. And I'm like, maybe that's part of the reason why this podcast exists, right? Is you're always like, I feel like there's almost a sense of the those of us that are, around our 40s, give or
Hmm.
take, you almost wish you can go back and be like, hey, young Eric, hey, young Jen. You know what I mean? Telling yourself, like, don't worry about this, that, and that's all these things you're consumed with right now, because here's what it looks like on the other side of that. So maybe
Hmm.
that's part of the reason why this, like, we're trying to help you, like, like you would with your own children, right? Like, hey, please, 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 pretty please, learn the lessons that, your mom, myself, your parents, your whoever it is that's adult in your life, that's like, please listen to these lessons, because we'd rather you take from our foundation and go forward from there. Like, it's almost a desire to go back and tell ourselves, hey, you're right, you do feel that way, and it's okay. Like, almost all of us do.
Yeah.
And when you may be feeling like, I'm the only one, there's no way, my other classmates, man, I see them, they got it put together. And you know what? Guess what they're doing? The person you're sitting right next to is going, man, I'm looking at everybody, including you, and going, hey, man, they got it all put it together. I'm the one with the imposter syndrome and da da da. It's everybody thinking the same thing and not saying it out loud. And it just takes that one spark of like, oh, it's not just me? Okay, great, great.
Yeah.
Ah,
And I would never try to like tell a nursing student to just relax and don't be so anxious,
yeah.
because that's impossible and the stakes are high. So you should be anxious.
Mm-hmm.
That anxiety is going to keep you on working hard and doing your best. So I just want to say it's okay to feel anxious, and don't let it like overtake you. Like you can be
Yeah.
anxious and be optimistic about the future at the same time.
Use it as a superpower. Use it
Yes.
as a superpower. Harness its energy to propel you forward, riding the wave. There it is. We're pulling it all together. Okay, so Jen, one last question. If
Okay.
there was nothing else, and you've already dropped so much, if there was nothing else you wanted anyone to get from listening to your episode, what would that one thing be?
It's okay if you fail,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not the end of the story. You can feel all of your feelings and they're all okay. But just know that you have power over them, and you can get through the other side of them. I guess that's it.
And that's it. There it is.
Okay.
Jen, thank you so much. This was a lovely
This was
time.
fun.
Oh, I'm so glad you did it, and I cannot wait for, like, I keep telling everybody, there's, right now we're in a healthy place. The podcast is in a healthy place where the recordings that I'm doing don't come out for many, many months, and which is, a bummer, but also, like, for the sake of continuing this thing, it at least gives me some comfort. But that being said, like, you're just continuing the streak, just like everybody else, that I'm like, I wish I could just take this, don't even edit it, just upload it now, because you've got so much to share. I cannot wait for people to hear this. So thank you so much, Jen.
Thanks. I appreciate this. Have a nice Saturday.
Oh, I will. You have a great rest of your Saturday.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Here's what's happening on the next episode of Feeding Our Young.
This is actually Bevel's first year doing it, so we're kind of like the guinea pigs of the program. See how they change everything after we're done with it. But yeah, we take our regular nursing classes here in person. We'll do like our clinicals, everything, and then online we have our bachelor's classes. So we'll take them. So we have 2 nursing BSN classes online with UAB right now, on top of our nursing class in person. But it's set to so that they can get more nursing students, I guess, out there in the career, since it's such a high demand right now, and they can go ahead and have their bachelor's degree in advance in such a short amount of time.
Did you like today's episode of Feeding Our Young? Let today's honored guests know by emailing us at thanks@feedingouryoung.org. Also, if you are a nursing student, nurse, or a nursing instructor and would like to be featured on a future episode, please email us a few details about yourself at the very special email address mystory@feedingouryoung.org. If you have a question you would like addressed in a future Q&A episode, please send it to q@feedingouryoung.org. For all other inquiries, please email us at info@feedingouryoung.org or text us at area code 509-ALL-THEM, 509-255-8436. We're so excited to have you return to hear our next honored guest. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Feeding Our Young LLC. Again, that's username Feeding Our Young LLC. Until next time, be encouraged and go find someone to encourage today.